This is the Tiger II, a tank that really needs no introduction. Developed in 1942, this behemoth of a tank was designed to break through enemy front lines with its insane armor and powerful gun, weighing in at over 50 tons. This tank was truly a monster on the battlefield, with only about 490 ever built. This tank is definitely one of the rarest tanks ever made. What's up, everyone? I'm here with a channel that brings you the deadliest weapons from history's greatest wars. And today we're taking a look at the Tiger II. This tank boasted incredible armor, 180 millimeters thick in the front and 140 millimeters on the sides. Even the T-34-85, which had the best armor of any Soviet tank at the time, could only boast 140 millimeters of armor on the front of its hull. This was the last major German offensive on the Eastern Front. The Tiger II broke down a lot, often completely out of ammunition. By the end of the war, only about 490 would be built, far fewer than the 2,000 that Germany had planned on. And as always, thanks for watching. The war would end before the German war machine could produce enough Tiger E's to really make a difference. But those 490 tanks that were produced would go on to become some of the most feared tanks of the war. The heavy tank required lots of maintenance. But since most of the units operating the Tiger II were inexperienced, the tanks often broke down due to misuse. Still, even with these problems, the Tiger II performed admirably, tearing through the enemy like nothing they had ever seen before. The Germans threw everything they had into this battle, including their brand new Tiger II. The tank performed well, tearing through the Soviet lines. One report from the battle tells the story of a Soviet T-60 light tank engaging a Tiger II. At first, the Russian crew thought they had the German tank at a disadvantage because of the terrain. They thought that the Tiger's gun was elevated too high to fire at them, but they quickly found out otherwise. The T-60 fired over 500 rounds at the Tiger, only managing to penetrate the side armor once. The Tiger returned fire, tearing open the T-60 like a can of soup. The Tiger's armor was sloped, making it even more resistant to incoming fire. Its large size also helped in this regard, as a larger surface area meant that incoming shells were more likely to hit the sloped armor where it was the thickest. Even if a shell did manage to penetrate the armor, the crew inside would be very sad. There was no way that an 85mm shell could cause the kind of damage needed to seriously injure the crew. Only a direct hit from a high-explosive anti-tank round could do that. So they set out to design a tank that could do the job that the earlier Tiger I had trouble doing, namely penetrating the heavily armored Soviet T-85. The Soviets would soon find out just how effective this weapon was when the Germans brought the Tiger to bear against them. By the way, if you love tanks, check out my tank encyclopedia, which has over 160 entries on the most deadly tanks from the Second World War. As the war in Europe progressed, the Germans found themselves facing tougher and tougher enemies, both offensively and defensively. The prototype for this tank had a more powerful 88mm gun, thicker armor all around, and was to be powered by a new 1,000 horsepower engine. But the new tank would also be much larger, making it harder to transport. To offset this problem, the designers came up with the idea of a two-piece tank, essentially splitting the turret and hull in two and making them detach. But this design presented some problems, namely the fact that reassembling the tank in the field was more complicated than first thought, and the added stress of transporting these two pieces caused some of the welds to break, nearly causing derailment. Also, the 88mm gun was not quite ready yet, so it was decided to use the same 83mm gun as the Tiger one until the new gun could be finished. These problems ultimately led to the cancellation of the two-part design, and the Tiger II went back to being a regular old tank. By late 1942, the Germans had designed a new tank to replace the Tiger I. It was to be called the Tiger II, or King Tiger. Construction on the Tiger II began in January 1943, and the first models rolled off the assembly lines in April. The Tiger II was finally ready for battle. The Tiger II was also armed with an 88mm cannon, which had a high-velocity anti-tank round that could penetrate 140mm of armor at 30 degrees. The Tiger II first saw combat in August of 1943 during Operation Citadel. But after Citadel, the production of the Tiger II slowed. I hope you enjoyed this video. Check out my other content on World of Tanks. If you want to learn more about tanks,